Hello everyone, welcome to MontanaSports.com. Richie Melby here, of course, with another episode of the Frontier Conference Coaches Show. And for weeks now, we've been telling you never sleep on any of these games within the league. Coaches, well, they've said that for years, and that's exactly what we saw on Saturday, a rivalry game where anything can happen. Montana Western playing host to then number 5, Montana Tech. Orediggers unbeaten, but no more, as the Bulldogs score 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and overcome a 14-0 deficit to start the football game by shocking Montana Tech 42-35.
Oh, it's an exciting win. You know, anytime you play a conference rival, and then you compound it with playing a top 10 team in the country. You know, I mean, it makes it makes all the preparation, all the grind that you do worth it.
And you know, 6 minutes in, you guys are already down 14-0. I mean, what was going wrong, and what you need to change, and what adjustments worked the best?
You know, really didn't adjust anything. We finally made a couple plays. You know, we missed multiple shots down the field in that first quarter that kind of hurt us getting down there, and we felt like we could score with them, and if we got a couple things that to go our way, forced a couple turnovers on defense, we could get there, and we did, and we just kind of stuck to the plan.
How about scoring those 2 touchdowns late? I think, you know, they scored the first 2 touchdowns in about 6 minutes. I'm pretty sure you scored your last 2 in the 6 minutes.
Yeah, you know, we just felt like we had a good rhythm going, and we found some things that were working and some things that were working consistently, and we were just able to keep that going.
And I mean, it's a huge win. Is this one of those building blocks, so to speak?
You know, I hope so, just in terms of how we could play. You know, it's really only the second game this season that we put a game together, you know, where we played full speed, confident in all 3 phases of the game and attacked in all 3 phases of the game. And I just hope that proves to the guys, you know, I've always believed in the unlimited potential of our team, and I hope they do now too, and can understand if they put it all out there and they put it all together and do it with confidence each and every game, then, you know, they're going to have a shot to hang with the best and beat the best.
And you got COI, who's a pretty tough team. They played you pretty tough down in Dillon earlier this season. How important is avoiding complacency heading into this weekend after beating such a talented team? Well,
yeah, I felt like this group's done a pretty good job of just coming to work every day, and that's kind of what we do, and to make, you know, no Tuesday is different than any other Tuesday, no matter who you play. That I think is really a hallmark of successful programs, and hopefully we'll continue on that path and then be able to turn it on Saturday and do what we're supposed to do.
What does COI bring to the table, and how do you feel you match up against them?
I think we match up really well. You know, they're a very aggressive attacking defense. I think our vertical passing game will pose them some problems. We were able to get vertical on those guys pretty regularly in our first game. I think I did a poor job of play calling in that game. I should have stressed going vertical more in that game and running Hunter less. And I think the story of this game will be, you know, will we turn the ball over 5 times, or won't we turn the ball over 5 times? You know, that's really what the story of the game was last time.
Well, speaking of going vertical, I mean, you got Bennett back there. What did you think of his performance this past week?
Bennett's performance has been great each week as you've watched it go through, and this week, you know, he did what he does. He came to play. He sees the field well. He throws the ball vertically well. He's got great pocket presence. You know, we work a lot on understanding where the rush is going to be and where your movements are going to be within the pocket and when to escape the pocket. And Bennett does. I think that's really one of his strengths, is he really understands how he can move and find ways to get himself to deliver the football.
Montana Western now receiving some votes nationally after that win. Bulldogs quarterback Bennett Gibson, your conference and national offensive player of the week. You can read more about that and all things Frontier Conference at MontanaSports.com. Find the highlights, the scores, the feature stories from any sports, high school, college, and of course beyond. MontanaSports.com. Make sure to bookmark it today. For the first time this season, the Montana Tech football team enters a week of practice coming off a loss. Of course, that 42-35 setback at rival Montana Western over the weekend. Orediggers started strong, took a 14-0 lead, and even led late in the fourth quarter, but 2 consecutive touchdowns from the rival Bulldogs put them ahead in that 42-35 victory. Now it's time for a bounce back for Tech and Chuck Morrell.
Well, I think anytime you come out on the wrong end on the scoreboard, there's a lot of plays you'd love to have back. But, obviously we talk to our guys, it's in this conference, hyper competitive, as everybody knows, and you've got to be able to handle a loss the same way you handle a win, and that's the simple fact that you got to move on. And just like it's been happening for billions of years, the sun came up on Sunday, and it came up on Monday, and it came up again today on Tuesday, and so hey, we just got to be ready to move on and focus on what's in front of us.
And it continues to be great outside for football this year. When you look, was there something positive, some scenario, some situation that you can say, okay, now this is something we can look at in practice, and this is only going to make our football team better?
Well, like you said, again, I think from a coaching standpoint, it's hard to pull a ton of positives out of a loss. I thought our guys, they were amped up, they were excited to be down there, and when it came down to it, Western made more plays than we did and came out on top, and we knew that going in there, that environment down there, it's a tough place to play, and when we look back on the big picture, we're still able to make some explosive plays in the offensive side of things, and our special teams was still pretty functional, and we're going to continue to lean on that. But obviously, there's certainly some things we need to clean up.
And what did you notice about the two scores that Western got in the fourth quarter, where if we would have made this third down stop or whatever it might be, maybe we're even in overtime and we're still playing down there right now?
I think it's pretty dangerous to play the what-if game. I think that's what drives coaches to madness or early retirement, is when you play the what-if game, because your hindsight's perfect 20/20 coming off of a loss, and you look back, and there was a number of plays. Obviously we turned the ball over at some inopportune times throughout the course of the game, and then had some opportunities certainly in the second half defensively where we got them in a third and long and had a chance to get off the field and get our offense the ball back and let them do what they do. And when it came down to those situations, they made the plays and we didn't. And so, like I said, good learning experience for us. Big key point that we talked about, our guys, all of our goals are still possible for us during the course of the season here. And, really the test of our character is how we bounce back.
We don't want to send you into early retirement, so we're going to get rid of what ifs right now, and let's go to what's happening right now. Then this week in practice, I mean, if this team wasn't hungry, we know that they're fired up even more so now, and want to come back out and get back on the winning track. What's the attitude been in practice, and what are some of those things now that you're going into the second round against some of these teams that you want to see perfected even more so?
Well, I know our guys are chomping at the bit to get back out on the practice field. There's no doubt about that. They're starving. They're hungry. They want to go out, and obviously, I think we're going to see an extra burst of energy in our step coming out throughout the course of the week. And we still got to follow the same process, though. We still need to focus on what we do best and how we operate and what's there for us schematically and what things we need to shut down on the other side of the ball. But I think from a standpoint of our guys being excited to get back out there, they're going to be all about it, man. They're going through the meetings, and you kind of grind through the process of coming out on the other end, and then I'm excited to get our guys back out on the field today.
We've talked plenty about your offense, from Quinn to Jed to that great receiving core to the offensive line. We've talked a lot about the defense, some great guys up front, the pressure you get from all over, and we've touched on special teams when you had a record-breaking punt return for a touchdown. But you continue to talk about Clay Dean as one of the leaders on special teams, and it gets overlooked, but it's maybe even more important than the other two at some points of the games.
Yeah, it's an absolute critical piece to what we do, and Clay has been, he's just been outstanding. He's on every special teams unit for us, and when you turn on the film, it's one of those things that just pops out. Is that he's the guy that's constantly making the tackle on kickoff or the tackle on punt, or doing a great job on punt return, and he was our special teams player of the year a year ago, and has done a tremendous job for us again this year. And just when you have that trust factor from a coach for a guy that you're going to put out there and is going to run down and make a play on a consistent basis, it allows you to bend and move your scheme a little bit from a special team standpoint. So very happy with what he's done and continues to do for us.
Again, here we go, second time around. Some of these league opponents. Carroll College was week 1, game 1, a Thursday nighter. Fighting Saints, what you see since that game and watching any of their recent film?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always super challenging to play in our league, to play in that second round. It's really, at this point, some identities have been established, and so coaches are trying to make some schematic adjustments. But at the same standpoint, we know each other very well, and so they know us, and we know them. And I think one thing that their running back, Major Ali, is really been showing up here on film in terms of being a power runner and grinding out tough yards. And I think Eric Dawson is as good a tight end as I've seen in a while, and obviously opportunities to get him the ball. Their running back core is strong, and wide receiver wise, seeing some of their other guys are stepping up and making some big plays for them. And I think their consistency in their offensive line play up front, and then defensively, what we're going to get with that. They're just going to be play really hard, be really physical up front, and those are all things that are going to present challenges for us going in this week.
And then finally, that one big thing that you want to see your team do better than they have all season, the biggest takeaway from this coming Saturday.
Well, I think the biggest thing I want us to do is play tremendous team football all the time. I mean, that's been our biggest thing. Maybe a flaw for us at this point in the season is, we're on the roller coaster, we're up and down, and when we're all on the same page, we're unbelievable. But when we're off, or if we're making have a mistake on whether it's a special teams unit, defense, or offense, the other units got to take care of each other. And so, just asking our guys to follow the process of playing great team football and focusing on one play right in front of them. And that if we play great team football, we have a better than average chance of being successful.
Tex at Carroll this weekend. Diggers, of course, already stopped the Saints 45-28 in their opening game. We'll hear from Carroll's Mike Van Diest coming up next. But first, make sure to download the MontanaSports.com app. Search Montana Sports, one word, Montana Sports. Whether it's iPhone or Android, get all the latest sports news and highlights straight to your phone or tablet. Welcome back, everyone, to the Frontier Conference Coaches Show here at MontanaSports.com. Joining us in studio, as he does every week, Carroll College head football coach Mike Van Diest. Coach, a homecoming atmosphere on Saturday. Great crowd. It was fun to see people come back, watch the Hall of Fame inductions, of course, including your 2007 National Championship team. College of Idaho coming away with the win. Your thoughts overall now that you've seen it live, gone back, watched some film. What happened there?
Very disappointing. I mean, I thought we had chances, certainly throughout the course of the game. You always talk about 4 or 5 plays, but I think there's 4 or 5 critical drives that really put us behind the 8 ball in that first half. Offensively, we missed a 3rd and 1 at midfield. We punt, and then they go down and score. And we had a couple chances on that. They had a big play across the middle, but Tucker Johnson just competed and ran his tail off on the sideline, caused a fumble, and a couple of guys I think thought, well, the ball's going to, it's going to be out of bounds. The ball's on the ground, and we weren't there to recover it. And then later on, they get a bad snap over the punter's head. We get great field position, 4th and 1. We can't put it in, and it was 14-0 at that time. And I thought maybe we need to, go for the field goal, but our team just needs to have some excitement and some confidence, and I thought that was the right thing to do, but maybe next time I'll kick the field goal.
Well, and obviously it goes the other way around, and we're having a different discussion right now. I chatted with Tucker's dad at halftime. He continues to play great. Let's start with the offense first before we get into the defense. We saw Tanner Gustafson, the starting quarterback, on the side with ice on his hand, obviously, and then you get a look at potentially the future in Reese Heibel coming in and playing quarterback. What happened with Tanner and what you guys saw now looking back, you and Nick Howlett, the offensive coordinator, at Reese's performance?
Well, Tanner was a freak accident. He comes off of a read option. He's taking the ball on the perimeter. A guy comes up, makes a good play, and he's putting his hand out to stiff arm him and fall down, and he tears a tendon, and there's a fracture in the bone behind his index finger, and it's going to require surgery. And it's just unfortunate, with Bohmeyer and Tanner being captains their senior year. Not that you ever want to see anybody get hurt, but certainly never seniors. So that was tough. And Reese got thrown into the fire. Yeah. And we had to change our game plan a little bit, but I think Nick still wanted to run with the same things, but some of the things didn't come into play like we wanted. I thought Major Ali did a great job running the football, and Ryan Arnson had a couple of touches in the flat with a pass and also on running the football. But Reese just has to learn just to kind of take over the game and know what the situation is. Late in the game, I thought he threw a couple great passes. Our leading receiver was certainly Eric Dawson. That was a big plus, but there's a couple times when we had to call timeout to preserve the clock. Then second down, I think down the red zone, Reese takes a sack instead of throwing it out of bounds or throwing it away, and then we would have two plays to make it. So those are things he has to learn that you don't get that opportunity in practice. And this week he won't be the second team quarterback. He'll be running with the number ones.
It's hard to believe this is the second straight year we've seen this happen. Obviously, way too fresh in fans' minds with JT Linder last year. You said Nick's trying to keep the same things going. So here we go. It's a new week of practice. Knowing coming in, Reese is going to be the guy. What do you like? What brought you guys to recruit him anyways that you really feel like he can take advantage on game days?
Well, he was a good athlete. He came from a program, they were state champions. And shoot, we've had 8 or 9 quarterbacks that have been state champions in high school, and you like that leadership and that winning attitude. We really didn't know what we had with him until we got him here because it was a running offense. He's very athletic. When he was in the Shrine Game, one of our former coaches, Mark Lenhart, who's a high school coach down in Wyoming, was the Shrine Game coach, said, hey, you guys got to steal here. And he has a terrific release. He's got a great release. It's quick. It's what you want out of a quarterback. Now he has to do it mentally, and I think that's what Nick and him are sitting down today, and he'll be doing it tomorrow leading into the first practice this week to say, okay, this is what we have to do, and what can we do to take advantage of it, and try to help him out. And that's where the running game's got to help. Protection, and I know Tech, if you got a young quarterback, they're going to come after him, which they should.
Absolutely. You mentioned it right there. The easiest way to help a young quarterback, get the ground game going. How do we find that magic that we've seen in spurts so far this season, whether it's Ryan Arntzen, Ryan Walsh, or Major Ali, like you mentioned?
Well, we got to continue with that. Major had 98 yards rushing, the week before against Southern Oregon because we fell behind so much. He didn't get to carry the ball like we wanted to, but he had 50 yards on 10 carries. So I think the last 3 games, Major's picked it up, and Ryan had a couple great runs, Walsh. He was busting tackles. He's lowering his shoulders. So we've got a good 1, 2, 3 punch back there with those 3 guys, but we've got to be consistent. What hurt us Saturday was the short yardage. 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and 1. We just couldn't get the first downs. We didn't have many first downs on Saturday, and down the red zone, or certainly when you got a drive going, you want to keep the ball.
If we flip it around to the defensive side, they're up by a score late in the ball game. You guys need that stop late, and it turns into a touchdown for them. That particular play, looking at it now from camera angles and stuff up top, what happened on that one that you get a stop, and even if they have to attempt a field goal, could be a different game?
Well, it was really disappointing because up until that point in time, they had 75 yards rushing on 31 carries, and we gave up 59 yards rushing on that last drive on 4 carries. We did not step up and make tackles. We had a couple guys that were out of position on the touchdown. We had guys that chance to make tackles, and they go in there with their heads down. It was just, I thought, a total lack of focus. And I know our guys didn't want that to happen, but again, it was disappointing because when we had a chance, we're within 1 score, let's get a stop, get it back to our offense. There's plenty of time left. I think it was 8 or 9 minutes left. It's a different ball game, and defensively we've been playing, I thought, pretty well up until that point in the 3rd quarter and 4th quarter. But we dropped the ball on that one defensively, and that's on us. And we didn't do a very good job in terms of standing up to the challenge.
You mentioned Bo Meyer, arm in a sling, obviously. I saw you also throwing some different guys in on defense throughout different points of the game, just trying to find that guy that makes a big play. And you had a couple of interceptions. Alex Tomix is gifted one right there, obviously. And then Isaiah King steps in front and gets another interception. You turned that one into a score. What are you finding with some of these different defensive guys to try and get that consistency, win a turnover battle, and get the ball back to that offense?
Well, we did. They had a bad snap on a punt. We get that one. Tucker causes a fumble. We don't recover it. And then we get 2 interceptions in the second half with Alex and Isaiah, as you mentioned. So there are some things I thought we played very well at. I thought there's times we played a very good defense, but at the critical times we didn't. We have a 4th down stop, and we got 2 guys that jump off sides, and they get a continued drive, and that makes it 14-0 at halftime. Every play is critical, but there's a couple things that we've just got to focus on better. And I think our problem on defense is we got guys who are terrific football players, but they're trying to make every play. And they're trying to do it themselves and not realizing that the scheme and their responsibility will help somebody else. And when you take yourself out of position, you take yourself out of a gap, or you're supposed to play pass defense and you're up on the line of scrimmage playing the run and the receiver's open downfield, you can't do that. And it's not because of lack of effort or because they don't care. Maybe they care too much in terms of saying, hey, trust the other 10 guys on the field.
Yeah. One of the things you've mentioned, 2 halves, not just one, not just 3 quarters, not just 3.5 quarters, and that was certainly true the first time around with Montana Tech. You get them at home now, fired up for a win, obviously, but putting together 4 complete quarters, taking advantage of every single offensive drive, a key to beating the Ore Diggers, as we just saw with Montana Western, knocking them off this past weekend.
Well, Montana Western did a great job because they fell behind 14-0. Rocky fell behind 20-0 and came back. So I think there's that spark. If your team believes that they can do that, we got to stick with our game plan. And, you know, we have to be able to come out and match the intensity, play for play, drive for drive, and regardless of what the score is. And I think that's something that when you look at the first half of the first game, you know, we went up 7-0, then we fell behind 14-0, we fell behind 21-14, we kept battling. Second half, we couldn't move the ball. They came after us and blitz. So we've got to be able to pick up that's been their MO. Chuck does a great job with their package. They're going to blitz 5, they're going to blitz 6. You got to pick it up, and you got to get the ball out quick. And I think Eric Dawson the last couple of weeks has bounced back. Shane Sipes was kind of a ghost on Saturday. You didn't see much of him. You know, he had a tough time with some penalties and didn't do some good things in terms of route running. But with Troy Arnston back, I hope that'll help Shane and that'll help Eric. And then we get Ryan Walsh out of the backfield. So we've got to stick to our game plan defensively. We've got to stop them. At times we did. The second half, the problem was it was 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. We never got them in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 in the second half. And then finally, the homecoming atmosphere. But we talked about the Hall of Fame. Just for you to see some of those former players like we chatted about on the show last week coming back, the different guys that played on that 2007 National Championship team, and just meeting their families, meeting their kids probably at this point in time, just kind of the fun side of things that you guys are so dialed in, you don't get to see it a lot of times. It was awesome. I think we had over 60 guys from that team that came back. You know, there's 4 or 5 guys that out of state that had high school games that their coaches, they couldn't make it back. But to see them come back, and, you know, I'm standing there Saturday morning, I'm getting ready to go to meetings, and they're just getting ready to go in for the Hall of Fame breakfast. We had a reception for them Friday night. And you see all the little kids running around and going, that guy's got 2 kids now. That guy's got 3 kids. You know, it's cool to see. But I'm standing out there and I'm saying, okay, here's Owen Keppen. I'm standing with Rick Young, and there's Brandon Dam going, I was a pretty good coach back there with those guys. They made me look pretty good. But the talent we had was tremendous, and the things that they did as a group was just phenomenal. And they're successful. They're doctors, they're teachers, they're coaches, they're lawyers. They're just so many things that they're doing. And it's a who's who. It really is. The scoreboard is one thing. The thing that was so impressive on Friday night, they weren't bragging and talking about each other and their championships and that. That's a given. They were talking about each other and how successful they are and how's your family and this is great what you're doing. And then they were talking about, hey coach, how's the team's attitude? What's it going to be like tomorrow? I mean, they're sold into Carroll College. They love Carroll College. They love each other, and that was pretty emotional.
And it wasn't just the football team, but basketball, soccer. I mean, there was plenty of
athletes. The whole thing. Yeah. It was awesome to have everybody back, and it was a great atmosphere. And you know, that's where we need to come in and live up to that emotion and live up to that legacy. And our guys have got to understand what it means to wear that gold helmet and that Carroll College Fighting St. jersey.
Absolutely. Saturday kickoff, rival Montana Tech traveling up to take on Carroll College, Nelson Stadium. Coach, thanks as always for joining us. When we come back here on the Frontier Conference Coaches Show, we look at this week's matchups and the updated standings throughout the league.
So here's a look at your updated Frontier Conference football standings, where Southern Oregon now in control, out in front at 5-0, the only unbeaten remaining. They have a big rivalry game this week at Eastern Oregon. It's a night game out there in La Grande. Montana Tech dropping back to 4-1, now number 11 in the country with that setback. Montana Western, Rocky Mountain College, each 3-2 in the league and clinging to some sort of playoff hopes, though it would be difficult with a pair of losses. Eastern Oregon, College of Idaho, each 2-3, and there's the Fighting Saints of Carroll College seeking that second league win. MSU Northern still after win number 1. They host Rocky this week. As we look at your weekly Frontier Conference football schedule, number 11 Montana Tech at Carroll College, a 1 o'clock kickoff at Nelson Stadium. Again, it was 45-28. The Ore Diggers getting past the Fighting Saints in week number 1. Southern Oregon, the number 7 team in the country, rivalry game at Eastern Oregon, 6 o'clock kickoff. These all local times. Rocky Northern up on the hill on the High Line, and Western Montana College of Idaho. There you go, UM Western COI, 1 o'clock kickoff local time there, as again, the Bulldogs seeking win number 4 in your Frontier Conference standings. And we've got every bit of it, all the standings, all the scores, all the highlights, the stories leading into game day. Head on over to montanasports.com. Richie Melby, MTN Sports.